The fact that I'm taking this as like is a shot, I keep like I keep the table.
It's good. It's good.
It is very good.
It's
Very
good.
good. Very
I'm gonna do
good.
some mimosas with it or something like that too.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
But back to where we left off.
Right. The part where I start to talk that talk, man. No, real talk, because like this is like the blueprint was laid, you know, by cats like Rockefeller. I really feel like this is like the Rockefeller of the film industry. Like I sat back, you know, and watched how they moved and watched how they created their blueprint, you know, and how Dame would always speak about independence and ownership and things, you know, things like that. And that just always stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And these are the conversations that we have.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, now you see the importance of it more than ever. And that's why the timing of it is so like, because people would always be like the judge or the well, when's your movie gonna be in the theaters? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Now half the motherfucking theaters are closed. They're like Regal literally shut
That's
down, like they went out of
crazy.
business, right?
That is very
AMC is renting their theaters out to people so they can come
for
and
their
see-
birthday.
Right, you see what I'm saying? Hollywood, like you say, had to pause. So we never was in a situation where we were waiting for Hollywood to discover us or this and that. It was like all about, yo, we're gonna make our own movies, we're gonna make our own content, we're gonna do this shit our way,
Right.
we're gonna put it out our way. I'm not gonna compromise the storyline, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna have to go get in the motherfucking dress, I'm not gonna have to croon, I'm not gonna have to do none of this shit. We're gonna do this shit our way.
Right.
Regardless of what Hollywood is doing.
Right.
We was like, we're gonna make them come holler at us.
To us.
Right? Now,
Right.
that's what they started doing, because it was like, yo, hey, we see what your film you're doing. Hey, aSocialLoveAffair, let's put it on our platform. Can we do this? And now it's like, what better time to have your own platform? It was all God's time. It was all the time. It was divine. It was like we was putting in the work that we needed to put in with the vision, and then all of a sudden, like it was just like
the pieces started falling
shit
together.
just like,
Everything
and it was
started
like,
lining
oh, now people ain't going to the theaters, so they sitting at home, and
Netflix is making money.
right, they're sitting at home and they can pull up your app on their smart TV because they're not going. They don't even want to. Even if the theater's open, they don't want to go. They're like, nah, we're just gonna hang back. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta look at all that, and it's the timing of it all, man. And so we just blessed to be in a position to have that vision that we had for over a decade, and now be like, all right, bet.
Now we here.
And now we're here, and we're doing it, and literally like doing it, and it's like a global situation to where this is what we've been talking about literally the whole time, like the whole time.
So I've heard you guys mention aSocialLoveAffair a lot.
Right.
Is this
Yeah.
like basically
Yeah.
your baby,
baby.
like your film?
Yeah,
It's a full-grown baby right there.
Right.
Give me the
Absolutely,
whole
yeah,
run
I'm
of
gonna
this
agree
one.
to that. Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
So aSocialLoveAffair, it was like towards the end of that last festival run, and I was just like, yo, it's time for us to make a feature. Like it was, because you see the difference between being a filmmaker that does short films versus a filmmaker that does a feature film. It's like they literally, you're in a different like category at that point. Like you're like officially a filmmaker when you do a feature full-length film.
What's the difference? I'm sorry.
Well, like with a short film, like I said, a lot of times, especially at that time, there's really not a way to like monetize it. And really more so with short films, it's kind of like the only thing you really could do is put it in the film festivals. You know, when you do a feature film, you can put it in the film festivals, but it's like, no, we can sell this for profit.
And because it's full length, so it's
Right.
the time difference is, you know what I mean, is that's what makes it a full length feature film. And I remember trying to, because we were debating what to do, like, because
Yeah.
his specialty is, or his favorite, I'll say, say specialty, but
specialty.
And specialty is like crime dramas. So
let's
like,
go with the dark gangster shit.
Yeah, he wants to do the dark,
right?
The gangster, like like that
suspense,
real stuff,
dark,
suspense,
like
But
yeah,
I was like, okay, well, that's cool, and that's what we wrote a lot of it. Like
we had already had position of power.
Position of power, scene 2, take 4, audio STE019.
Are like pretty much written, but it was like, okay, how do we produce that with our budget and what we have right now?
Right.
It's like the way we want to do it, we can do it, but then how's it gonna look? Is it gonna look the way we want it to look?
Right.
So it's like, not really, not at this point.
Right.
So let's go ahead and come up with something that's a little easier to create. And that's a love story. You don't need much. You don't need special effects. You don't need, a lot of different stuff for a love story. You just need a strong story.
Right.
And that's pretty much where we were like, okay, well, let's come up with a love story. So, hell, what are we going to talk about? Remember you were talking about Love Jones, right?
Well, because the thing was, like I said, I was on that, like, at first it was something gritty, crime, something in that lane. And Cleve said, well, let's do a love story. And at first I was kind of like, love story? Like, because, when you think about love story, just with some of the ones, not all of them, some of the ones that's been produced, it kind of like sappy, just kind of like, it's the same. Same
around that time,
thing.
there were a lot of them that were just cookie cutter, like same movie with different actors.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
it was very predictable.
It was, and so I was like, man, Cleve, man, like, I don't know.
Give me something else.
Yeah. And he was like, nah, well, something like a Love Jones. And that's why I was like, no, I think I can do that. And because those are the types of love, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like that. And then we was like, all right. And then it was kind of started conceptualizing. And then it was like, let's throw like social media in the mix. This was the first time that we actually was like, as filmmakers, we was thinking about, like, from a producing standpoint and from a marketing standpoint,
what people want to see,
as we were coming about it,
right?
To this day, I think it has its pros and cons. When you go about making a movie that you think people want to see, but it was the elements though. Yeah. Like it was a love story. But then we added the element of social media,
modern day time. It was like, okay, it's like, cool. You want something similar to Love Jones, but you don't want to do another Love Jones. You know what I mean? You want to do something that is for the times, something that is going on right now, something that people can relate to. And it's like, I know I was having experiences with relationships in this modern day dating era with social media and the things that happen, people going through phones, making people feel insecure by, you're posting this picture, or, why did you like my picture, or why did you like somebody else's picture? Yes. That it's a whole nother,
it was a whole thing.
A whole nother thing of like that, how relationships are now. It's like, they're the same, you got the same problems, but you just got a different way of the problems coming up.
Different devils.
Exactly. So it's like, that's what we focused on. We were like, okay, well, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it about what's going on today. It's like, we're making a movie with social media because that's how people are dating right now.
Right.
And so it's like, shoot, what are we going to call this? Call it Social Love Affair.
Yeah.
Because it's love affair, but in the social age. So that's kind of how we came up with the concept of it. And so that's like, cool, we got it. And how long did it? It didn't take us long to write it.
It was, man, it was crazy because, like, I remember I remember talking to somebody. Somebody else was talking to me about wanting to do a project like right before that. Maybe like so. This was like we started conceptualizing it January 2015. So towards the end, like December 2014, I remember somebody was talking to me and it was like about doing a project or something, and I was just like, well, I'm not full of myself. Like, so I know I'm not saying that I can just go and write a feature-length script in such and such time. And then we started talking about this movie, and then we started having the conversations, and then I went away. Because what normally happens, we had the conversations, and then I'll go, and then I'll start writing the actual screenplay.
Okay.
And I think I remember I got like 25 to 30 pages in, and I sent it to him. He was like, "The fuck? Like, wait, what?
Like, when did you do that?
Like, when? Like, what?" Yeah. And I was like, "Yo, this shit was just like the shit was just coming out." Yeah, it was like the shit was just coming out. The shit was just flowing, and I mean, because I think we were pulling from different things. Mm-hmm. It was, you know what I'm saying? We was pulling from like different things.
Life experiences.
And so it was
experiences
like,
I was having and experiences I've seen people have. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you got friends that deal with social media. You know, you just got, everybody has friends that can relate to this, and you got friends that have gone through it if you haven't gone through it yourself. So it was real easy to just come up with.
Shit started flowing. Yeah. And then from there, it was just kind of like, we saw like, and then, yeah, so that was, you talking about from January. I think we had the script maybe in March. I mean, because we was... Because you had went on your vacation with the family, and then you was almost done with it by then, right? That sounds about right. Yeah, because I remember you was calling me from the beach. He was like, remember he was working. He was on family vacation. Like, working. He's sneaking away. He's like, yo, click. I'm like, bro, ain't you away with the family? Like, all right, you know. Right. You know, so yeah, like
freaking dedication.
The first draft came, and we was just kind of like boom, and so we started casting after that. Yeah, like, cause that was like we conceptualized in January, and then February, March. Like I want to say we started casting.
We started casting then because we had the table read in like June, right?
We had a table read in like maybe May. Yeah,
it was early summer. It was
May.
It was summertime. And so it was like that process of, and that was the thing. It was since it was a feature film.
We had a table reader, man. We was moving. Like, I'm just.
We was moving. We was moving. And it was a feature film, so like we had to put everything together. We had to get, James to figure out who was, not James. It was Christian.
Christian was the DP.
Originally the DP.
He was right. He came on with the vision. The DP.
Yeah. Oh God, man, so much stuff because
it was a lot.
I remember even, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I remember that first scene we shot with the basketball court. Or I don't know if it was the first one, but it might have been the second.
That was the same day. It was the first day. It was definitely the first day of production.
Yeah. And how that?
No, it wasn't the first scene. The first scene we shot was at the boardwalk.
Was at the boardwalk, but then
the second scene we shot was the basketball scene. Yeah. That was all the first day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is how all of that like.
I brought that up because, damn, it was like we had a basketball scene where the two of the characters were talking to each other after playing basketball. Right. So we had already kind of scouted a place to shoot that.
It was at UNCC. That was the
at UNCC. Spot. Yeah. And so when it came time to shoot it,
the goals weren't there anymore.
They had taken the goals down.
The goals weren't. I was like, I was just out here the other day.
They knew I was coming.
They knew it was like, but
there was no basketball goals, so it's like, okay, but we got the crew together, we got everybody together, right? And so it's like, okay, now what do we do?
Where do we go?
What do we do? So it's like, well, what? I don't even know the name of the park we went to.
Methodist Homes.
Methodist Homes Park?
Methodist Homes is on Shamrock.
On Shamrock. Park, yeah. So we was like, well, there's a park over here. Let's go over here. So we took the crew. We went over there. And we're like, okay, we scouted it out a little bit. Like, yo, all right, we can shoot here. We'll just do this scene right here. Had them on the benches. Yeah. And once we started getting the camera set up and we had everybody in place and started running the lines, and then it's a Saturday. Right. So we were up early, And then Saturday morning at the basketball court, people start coming out to play basketball. So it's like regular, like every day, like people just getting up on a Saturday, like we about to go hoop.
Yeah.
Right.
And they ended up hooping behind our scene, which made it look like
A lot
authentic.
more
So we had extras. It was like
Right.
like we had extras, like we
Yeah.
planned it that way, and it wasn't that way, but it was just the way that we, you know, we just kept pushing, and then things just kind of worked together. It's like, okay, cool. Now we got a dope scene because, you know, we just kept moving.
Because it would have been like them two just by themselves.
Yeah, it was. That's,
would have been by
that's what we were gonna
them
do.
two by themselves when we was at USCC.
Yeah.
And it just shows you like just kind of how. That's when we started seeing like, oh, you know, like you might have this plan, but then how things work out. You know, it's like this. You got to kind of go with it, and it actually ends up being a better situation.
Yeah.
So the casting process behind A Social Love Affair, because everything kind of happened so fast, and for the most part, like I said earlier, I already kind of know who I'm writing for these certain characters. For A Social Love Affair, I did not know I was going to be playing the lead. When I was writing the script, I didn't know I was going to be playing Leo.
He says he's not an actor.
No, you know, now, so it was either going to be, my thought process was you had Shelton, who plays Slick in the movie. He was going to be Leo or Slick. And I was going to be either, you know, like I would have been the Slick character, you know what I'm saying? So it ended up falling the way it did because Alexis, the character Alexis was special to me because when we were talking about doing the movie that we was going to be doing before that, she was going to be in the movie one way or another. So Alexis was a character that was like, I was like, yo, this character is going to be she's going to be in something. That was literally, she was the first character. Like she was the first like character. She came from another movie. It was like, well, we're not doing this one. Well, we bring her over here. So then you had Andrea. We had somebody in mind for Andrea, but then we didn't end up getting Andrea till last with Doc came in. So Alexis ended up being, and even with that, we didn't know because V West, who was the lead character, who played the lead in Evelyn Black, my first film. We didn't know if she was going to be playing like the lead role of Andrea or Alexis. So we was just it was like we knew there was certain people that were going to be playing these characters, but we didn't know who was going to be playing who specifically. We just knew we had people that was like, okay, we know we got, because pretty much for me, when it was a situation where I was like, everybody that I had did movies with, so like all of the short films, all of the leads from my short films, it was like everybody's gonna be one of these main characters. That's how it was set up. And so you had V, you had Shelton from When Tables Turn, you had myself, you had it was a few other, and then it was some other people that we was also at that. No, we did do some. We did do some auditions for that. Auditions for some of the other roles, but so for those main, it was like we knew the people were. We just didn't know exactly what roles, who was going to be playing who. No. And I think what happened first was the dominoes started to fall when it was at the Legacy event when we was screening Evelyn Black. Excuse me, and it was however, like V showed up that day. She just looked like Alexis. I was like, and she just showed. I was just from what she had on, her hair, everything, the way she had her toes painted. It was just like I just saw it. I was like, that's Alexis. No, I was like, that's Alexis. I was like, that's it was just, it's like all of a sudden it just clicked. I was like, I saw it. I was like, well, that's Alexis. So then it was like, oh, we got to figure out who Andre is. All right, then we got to figure out who, you know what I'm saying, who's going to play Leo and who's Slick. And so once that domino started to fall, it was like, okay, well, she's Alexis, then boom, you know what I'm saying? Shelton will be playing Slick. And then that's when it was, okay, well, I'll be playing the lead. Because I didn't know. I was literally Slick, and this is a tidbit. Slick and Alexis were like my favorite characters. You know what I'm saying? So it was like Slick and Alexis were like, so I literally didn't know I was going to be playing Leo until it was just how the dominoes fell. And it was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, well, that's that and that's this. And then, all right, well, I'll be playing Leo. And then we had to end up find Andrea.
And then we found her. Dorothy Lucy, we found her on. She submitted a video audition, right?
So I actually had, it was just all how it all worked out. So a few weeks before, I had been invited to speak in a documentary. Yeah. It was her documentary that she was producing. I was actually invited on it by Kelvin.
Right.
Who we all went to school, me and Kelvin went to school together, who ended up being one of the DPs. So it all works together. Yeah. So he invited me to come be on this documentary. As we're on the documentary, afterwards, she's like, yo, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, nah, I've never met you before. You know what I'm saying? And she was just like, yeah, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, I don't. She worked with my dad.
What a small world.
Right. She worked with my dad, and he's like, yeah, my son, my filmmaker, all that. So he used to talk about me all the time. That's how she, you know, and then
like, I know you.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So then a few weeks later, so that came, she was like, yo.
You're such and such son.
And then I had just posted something about we're still searching for Andrea. And she was like, yo, are you still searching for Andrea? And we was like, yeah, we still casting. So she went and she did a whole
scene, right?
Yeah. She had somebody come in and play Leo, and she set up the whole scene and read the sides and read the whole script and then submitted it. And we were just like, well.
You did the whole thing. This is the whole movie.
Right. The role is yours. I mean, just the initiative.
Yeah,
you know,
of doing
of doing that and going about saying, yo, because we were having, it was a lot of people that was auditioning, but it just wasn't like clicking,
right.
Yeah, and then it was like
when you find that right person, it's like, okay, cool, and so we found the right person. Once you get the cast, then it's like, okay, now we ready to rock.
See it. Yeah, you can see the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, the cast and the crew, like you get your DP and then you get your cast and sound and everything like that. And we was like, yo, all right, bet, we about to make a movie.